Dear students, welcome back to the e-learning core 3, Fixed Income Analysis. In lesson 2, you will get an introduction to the term structure of interest rates. Next to discussing the yield curve, you will become familiar with future and forward rates. Moreover, an overview of the main theories in order to explain the term structure is given. Now let's start with lesson 2.1 and introduce the yield curve. The learning goal of this session is to understand the relationship between time to maturity and yield to maturity, commonly known as the yield curve and its economic implications. The relationship between yields and maturity is summarized in the yield curve. An example of a yield curve for the United States is depicted in the graph on the left-hand side and essentially a plot of yield to maturity as a function of time to maturity. The yield curve in this example is upward sloping, meaning that bonds with a higher maturity provide higher yields. The yield curve is central to bond valuation and allows investors to assess their expectations for future short-term interest rates against those of the market. A rising yield curve implies that long-term bonds offering higher yields than short-term bonds. The next question to ask is why to care about bond yields. The first reason is that interest rates and interest rate forecasts provide the foundation for investment decisions of firms, saving decisions of households, as well as decisions of policymakers in the economy. For example, everything else equal, higher interest rates make it less attractive to take out loans for financing consumption or investment. Another reason is that monetary policy has an impact on bond yields. Central banks move short rates, known as the policy rate, in response to changes in the economy. Later on, the monetary transmission mechanism makes sure that medium and long-term rates adjust as well. Finally, it is important to note that there is a close link between interest rates and the state of the economy. Let's illustrate this by having a look at empirical data. In the early 1980s, interest rates in the US economy climbed sharply after the Fed instituted a policy of tight money to rein inflation and peaked at 15.8%. Another example of how the state of the economy and interest rates are linked is related to the recent financial crisis. In 2007-2008, a so-called flight to quality episode took place, where the demand for US government bonds did substantially increase and the yield of 10-year government bonds did drop to 2.4% on an annual basis, while short-term rates measured by 3-month Treasury bills virtually dropped to zero. After having carefully studied session 2.1, please start with the review questions.